We're gonna do it. On your mark, get set, let's go now. What's up, my people? This is ShowBizz the Dope. All right, man, look. Where are you? Oh, I see you. All right, man, look. Breaking news. Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia. Looks like their fight's going to happen 2020, January 25th. Pay-per-view. What? First, we're going to discuss why January 25th for Danny Garcia and Errol Spence. Then we're going to discuss, is it worth pay-per-view? Then we're going to talk a little Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Crawford. First, I want to say Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, like I've been saying, I think that's a good fight. I think that fight should happen. I think all these welterweights should fight each other. So either here or later, I think Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, they must fight. But why January 25th? Why so early? Here's why. We all know that Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence, he wants Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao, though, he's negotiating a fight with Mikey Garcia. As far as Terrence Crawford, he looks like he has a fight coming up against Kavaliakis. Late December, maybe even early January. And when I say Kavaliakis, I know many of y'all are saying, who? But I've said many times, because the name is unrecognizable or the fighter is unrecognizable, that doesn't mean he's not a good fighter. Let's talk about Kavaliakis for a minute. This guy, Lithuanian fighter, he represented Lithuania in the Olympics, okay, twice. He has a good amateur background, undefeated fighter, 21-0, 17 KOs. That means he's got power. He is trained by Robert Garcia. It's good pedigree there. And he has a decent resume. But the best fight on his resume was a draw. It was against Ray Robinson. But if you all know Ray Robinson, damn good fighter, fought Josh Kelly to a draw. Ray Robinson, he's good for draws. But with that said, the fight with Ray Robinson and Josh Kelly, that kind of looked like a draw. As far as Kavaliakis and Ray Robinson, I would have given Kavaliakis the nod. Either way, that fight with Terrence Crawford, I think is a damn good one. Like I said, because you don't know him doesn't mean he's not a great fighter. Case in point, many people didn't know Andy Ruiz, did they? They thought AJ was just going to walk through him, and guess what happened? Unified champion Andy Ruiz. So like I said, because you don't know him doesn't mean he's a good fighter. I think Terrence Crawford taking on Kavaliakis, that's a good fight. But like I said, they're fighting late December, early January, and that leaves both of them, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, to be available 2020. And if you listen to them talk, there are always whispers about both of them meeting around that time, 2020. So, Danny Garcia and Errol Spence, if they were to fight, they were going to have to turn that around ASAP. So Errol Spence, Manny Pacquiao, and Terrence Crawford can all be available around the same time. Now let's talk pay-per-view. Is it worth pay-per-view? That's a good question. I'll tell you this, that fight with Sean Porter and Errol Spence, that really made a great argument. I think many people who saw that fight wants to see Errol Spence again. Hell, they want to see Sean Porter again. As far as the PPC, they needed that card. The Benavidez, the Rail fight, the Mario Barrios, that was close to a robbery. The John Molina, Josecito Lopez, that card they needed, because I'm telling you this, DAZN was getting them. DAZN had better cards than everybody, in my opinion. As far as total cards, I was really enjoying my DAZN fights. PPC, they needed that one. So is Errol Spence versus Danny Garcia, is that a pay-per-view fight? I'll tell you this, Danny Garcia right now, he's not a pay-per-view star. So all of it is leaning towards Errol Spence. Is Errol Spence a pay-per-view star or not? That's up to you. Will I buy the pay-per-view? Definitely. Like I said, I value the fight between Danny Garcia and Errol Spence. As far as stardom and who knows who and who's the bigger name, I don't care. As far as the fight itself, I know it's a quality one. I think Errol Spence should not be looking past Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia, he has a high probability of knocking out Errol Spence. Like I said, I think all these guys are razor thin close. So I think that's a damn good fight. Now, let's talk Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. This is really looking like Leonard and Hearns, isn't it? Yesterday, I mentioned Terrence Crawford and I mentioned his accolades. It reminds me of Hearns a lot. Before Hearns fought Ray Leonard, Hearns had a few fighters, but he was knocking them all out. He had guys. The one guy that really jumped out, in my opinion, is Pepino Cuevas. Pepino Cuevas was one hell of a fighter. That kind of reminds me of Terrence Crawford versus Gamboa. But Tommy Hearns didn't have the big names, but he was one hell of a fighter. Like I said, you could tell somebody's a great fighter or not. So when he fought Ray Leonard, that was a mega fight. Ray Leonard, on the other hand, he had Duran twice. He had Wilfred Benitez. He had those guys. Kind of reminds me of Errol Spence having Kell Brook, having Sean Porter. He had those guys at welterweight. But still, that fight needed to happen between Leonard and Tommy Hearns. That kind of reminds me of Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. Though Terrence Crawford, he doesn't have the accolades really at welterweight. He did become undisputed at 140. Not a lot of people know those guys. He didn't fight those huge names like Ray Leonard did when Ray Leonard fought Wilfred Benitez and fought Duran. When Errol Spence fought Sean Porter, Terrence Crawford, he doesn't really have the big names except for Amir Khan, but Amir Khan over the hill. So I like comparing the two, Hearns and Leonard, and Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, because I just see the similarities there. Either way, though, I think it's one hell of a fight, and I think they're making each other available for 2020. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll tell you this, though. I don't think neither one of those guys are running from each other, but I wish Errol Spence would speak a little bit more aggressively when it comes to Terrence Crawford. Let me tell you why. I was a huge critic of Keith Thurman speaking around Errol Spence when Errol Spence was coming straight for him. I'm not going to be hypocritical here. Terrence Crawford is talking directly to Errol Spence, and Errol Spence is talking around Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence, I hope you become a little bit more aggressive when speaking about Terrence Crawford. I'm out.